Today for me is, first of all, I was 49 just a few days ago on February 21st. Thank you. But February 25th, 1978, which again, how many years ago, do the math, 49 minus 13 years of age, was my bar mitzvah. So this was my bar mitzvah photo.
Wow.
Yeah. And I still, in going with memory, we'll pass it around. Going with memory, I still know my Haftorah portion, believe it or not. So we're not going to do that tonight.
Something's different.
Yeah, we're not going to do that today. But yeah, there you go. He's looking at that hairline. But it's easier maintenance. Back then, we were blow drying our hair. You know, you had to comb it forward and blow dry forward, and then blow dry back. And then you had to go underneath in order to get the curls out, and then the wave of the hair. You had to go through the whole thing in order to do that. Then it was the feathering back, then it was parting on the side, then it was parting down the center. Now it's just a big part.
It's great training for placing orders.
But going back in that day and age, also, my family business back then, my father and my grandparents had a business called Harris Barber and Beauty Supply. I grew up in the barber and beauty supply industry. So that's where I have the knowledge area and all that. Back then I used to actually go to a lot of the shows, whether at the Universal or various places where they have the barber and beauty shows there. And myself and my brother, we were oftentimes the models that were on stage, and they're cutting hair and doing the blow drying and the whole stuff. So I grew up as part of that industry. One of my fondest memories of the supply business was, for most of you women, you understand, and being in the business, she already left, but remember, if you remember those little Clairol bottles, they all looked the same and they all had different numbers. Back in the earlier days when the ground starts shaking and they fall off the shelves and you got all these, oh, what a mess. So my fondest memories are that. One of my other memories I was pointing out to you that's very big in my life is that it's always been an interesting thing. Most of you set your alarm clock in the morning to wake up and set a set time. And that's usually your time you wake up. I usually have more of a clock that I wake up to regardless. So if I say, hey, I need to wake up at set time, I usually have 1 minute before that time. It's a mindset. But my clock radio that I have, I still have a clock radio. I have it set all the time for 5:48 in the morning. Okay? I don't necessarily set it to go off each and every day, but when I have to wake up early, I will set it, and I usually wake up at 5:47. Now, the significance of 5:48 in the morning was on February 9th, 1971. Those of you who are living out in the San Fernando Valley may remember that day.
Yes.
That was the Samar earthquake. February 9th, 1971 at 5:48 in the morning.
Right.
So the significance is that more ingrained to what I was about. The interesting thing about that morning was I lived in a home in North Hollywood, and back then, as I fell on the floor. Yeah, there you go. Well, that's kind of what happened as I'm going to talk about the story. It was a little off cue. As I remember going back then, the idea then was when there was an earthquake, you go to a safe hallway. And I remember as I was leaving my room to go to our safe hallway, I go through our kitchen area, linoleum floor, going out to a hallway, to a safe hallway, which we go to. My mom had a sewing box. All of her sewing boxes, all of her sewing pins. It was right before the safe hallway. It dumped. I stepped on all the sewing pins. So I do remember that day quite well. Now, growing up in North Hollywood in a family business, and my father working for the family business, it's interesting. You learn a lot about your family as far as your relatives and what they do and what they shouldn't be doing, and you get victim of. My father was always a $300 a week wage earner for his family business. He worked long hours. He was waking up very early in the morning. He left early, come home late at night. So it was always that struggle. His way of relaxing was always being busy because he didn't know what it meant to relax. With that being said, some of the changes that I've done in my lifetime have also stemmed from that. Growing up, income or money was always an issue in my life. It was always an argument in my life. It was always something that I grew up about and saw and was a part of. So it was something where I never wanted money to be an issue in my life. It was always something that I looked in the future that I always wanted to be able to do the things I wanted to do to an extent, but not have it be a setback. So I was always the kid who always seemed to save money, the mom comes in and says, oh, gee, do you have any money to put in the bank? I have 100 and some odd. Where then? Did you get that? I was always able to save money very well as a young age. So I was always very good with that. And when I went to college eventually, I was looking to get involved somewhere, but I had no idea about the lending industry. It really was not even a thought. I was an accounting major, never wanted to do accounting. But I was in finance. I was a finance major at UC Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara's in the news the last 2 days with some interesting tidbits going on. I've been listening about that. And I guess on the news, instead of Isla, they're saying Isla Vista. So she can't pronounce it. I know it's Isla, but she says Isla on the news. So that was interesting. But anyhow, digress. But when I got out, I was working at Bank of America. Yes, the big bank, beginning of the alphabet. I was working with them as a utility while I was in college, which means I was working on the deposit side, where I was doing operations, where I was doing more so from tellering to merchant teller. I was doing all of that. I transferred from the branch out there to the branch in Warner Center. I was there. I was looking maybe to get involved in their management program. Best decision I didn't make. Couldn't get into it for some reason. So I was interviewing for jobs, and I interviewed over at the time 20th Century. Now it's the Farmers Insurance Building there in Warner Center. I was offered a claims position there, $16,000. Even then I had common sense to say no. But the person then said, well, have you checked out a company called Fallbrook Mortgage? I have no idea. I didn't know what that was. So she gave me a number, and I called. They're on 6700 Fallbrook Avenue. They're still, I think, there now. And I called over there and asked the person, her name was Karen, she answered the phone. And I said, I'm looking for a job or a position. Do you have anything available? She goes, well, we have a loan processing position and we have a loan officer position. Which one would you be interested in? I had no idea what either did at the time. But a loan officer job sounded a little bit better than processing. So I said, loan officer. Oh, great, come on in. So I went in, had an interview with a gentleman by the name of Greg, last name Austin. And when I went in there, they were already having a large training session with about 8 loan officers already. And I was already late to that. They were already in the process. So I missed that training program. So ended up, I got the position, or he sent me out in the field initially with 2 guys, a guy named Jay. Back then we had territories. So he sent me down to Ventura Boulevard with him, going into each real estate office. Hi, I'm Jay Adler. Here's my flyer. If you haven't, and I'm watching him do this all day long. I'm going, okay, interesting. So we went around talking to people all day, and then I went out with another person by the name of Kirk, who had North Hollywood. Then I went out with a guy who was the jet setter, yellow Corvette, and he had Hancock Park. And of course, you saw my hair in the picture. He's in his convertible, flying everywhere. We were in Hancock Park. So my territory when I started was South Pasadena, San Marino, and Arcadia. So I had a choice, go that way or go to Redondo Hermosa Beach. Now as a young kid, Redondo Hermosa Beach sounded pretty good. But I didn't like the traffic, so I went this way instead. So I went out to South Pasadena, San Marino, Arcadia, and in working out there, getting off of Farrows to Huntington, Huntington to First to Foothill. Going through that old money area, you had a lot of the experienced real estate agents out there. So I had a lot of respect for the business, and I learned the business, and I had the aptitude to learn right away. In learning that, I was able to take my production up fairly quickly. My first year in the business, going backwards, this was 1988, was the first full year in the business. I made a little over $50,000 that year. It was a good year. I thought it was good. My boss pulled me in. He said, if I make 72 grand next year, I was worthless and you didn't need me. Get that out of my office and work. So that was my review. So the next year, I made 78. Okay, but the idea was I was driving 100 miles a day to do my job. Every single day, 42 miles one way, 42 miles back, driving out there. But that's what we did back then. What's changed today is I don't leave my desk. I don't need to necessarily leave my desk because of technology. But a lot of people don't know what it is to do the other work or to work as hard. I had a lot more business back then than I do today. The problem was I was making a lot less than I am today. Back then, the conforming loan limit was 123. 123,000 and change. Now today it's 417. There's a lot of programs available today that weren't available then. There's a lot of programs that have been discontinued from ones that are then. The bottom line is I look to provide solutions. I use my memory to your advantage for a transaction. I hold people accountable throughout a transaction for your benefit. And I have a little bit of fun with that these days. For the last 5 years, I actually started rekindling that. Prior to that, I actually let it go for a while and I let things pass and I didn't use that memory. because it was more of an obstacle. I call it 30-year-old disease. When you're 30 years and younger, you always want to be right. And it's not important that you're right. It really isn't, because you can spend 6 months debating, proving you're right, and what did you get? You lost 6 months. And I call it that. And I try to stay very organized for myself, my clients, and everything I do. And the syndrome that I talk about there is being organized, and a lot of people specialize in that in this group, is I call it the yellow sticky on the ass routine. A lot of people you call would say, oh yeah, and you know those people who aren't really organized. And I'm somebody who also multitasks, and I do that fairly effectively, and I understand multitasking isn't necessarily the thing to do. But I multitask fairly well with memory, and I do a lot and get a lot done at a very time. To sum up, the last thing I've done with my business as owner of my company, my processing is 3 hours ahead. They start 3 hours ahead of us waking up. My operations person is in another area. My dock person is in another area. Dock's already at escrow before they open their doors. I make effective use of time. I make effective use of your money. I spend your money like it's my money. Try not spending it. And that's what I do. So if you have any needs with regards to refinance, purchase money, or if you have family or friends, I'd love to help them. And one thing, a plug on Jan for what she's doing. My wife is now also a coach with Take Shape for Life. I was on the program. I'm also part of that, but I don't take business from her. But the thing is, if you have your health life, you'll also have your business life. And that leads to your real estate life, which is my radio program. And without health, you don't have anything else. And so that's something that I push now as well. Thank you.